easement for the most part for DART through the neighborhoods in North Dallas is 100 feet, so which would mean 50 feet on each side. Well, because this looks closer than that, I've actually measured it with my 50-foot measure. And the 50 feet doesn't just go to my property line, it actually goes to my home. So as it stands now, DART is talking about putting a train that will run every 30 minutes, that is 50 feet from my bedroom. Ron Natinsky and the City Council went to great lengths in 2006 to pass what is colloquially commonly called the Natinsky Plan. But the main part of it called for the rail line to be below grade. And in all of the artwork and all of the original plan as presented to the homeowners in North Dallas, it showed that below grade to what appears to be in the 16-foot area. I could find no exact measurements, but now they're talking about back behind our homes here, depending on the floodplain and depending on the water table, the trench, and I hate to use that word, but the below grade now has gone from, let's say, 16 feet to possibly at best 12 feet, and in some cases further down for some of my neighbors 1 or 2 feet deep. In other words, it's not really below grade at all. You know, when it's a depth of 2 feet, you're going to see every bit of the trail. And these are nice homes, a great neighborhood, and then to your south is Davenport, and that's going to, out of our sight would have to be where they would either build with dirt or concrete and steel an elevated structure to go over this intersection.
Cotton Belt Line is an old railroad corridor, long planned as a DART rail link to DFW Airport. It's across far North Dallas and Irving, where there is no rail transit now. And joining us now is Brandon Formby from the Dallas Morning News. Brandon, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So where is the Cotton Belt?
It runs basically from south of downtown Fort Worth, and then it heads northeast over to Plano, and it cuts through all those suburbs.
Why is there a push for service on that?
Well, DART right now has what is kind of like a hub and spoke system, whereas downtown Dallas is the hub, and then the rail lines go out in spokes to the suburbs. So when you get out to the northern and western suburbs like Carrollton, Irving, and Plano, there's a gap in service, and then there's also no east or west connection. You basically have to go downtown to go east or west.
So is that the only possible east-west connection?
No, actually, underneath LBJ Freeway on the north side, there is what they call an envelope that was built in under there when they were doing reconstruction work, that the utilities are out of the way, so if DART could get under there, they could kind of just bore straight through.
Okay, now where is this on DART's list of priorities?
It's actually not their #1 priority right now. DART is maintaining that its top priority is getting a second rail line downtown.
Okay, and they're looking at bus rapid transit as well?
Yeah, on the Cotton Belt, that's one of the options they're looking at. It's a lot cheaper than getting rail service, and it's a lot different than normal bus service. The buses are longer, so they can carry more people. They look more like light rail trains than they do buses. They have dedicated lanes, so lanes that only the buses drive in, so they're not in traffic with everybody else. And a lot of times they have priority at traffic signals, so they don't sit at red lights as long.
Very interesting. All right, well, thank you so much, Brandon Formby, for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
We were told we'd have to wait until about 2035 before a train connecting Plano to DFW Airport would be done. Well, tonight, DART is changing its tune, and not everybody's happy about this. Brian New on the story for us, live in Addison, where DART is going to try to sell the public on its new idea later on tonight. Brian, what do we know?
Yeah, and Doug, DART could be getting an earful tonight from some homeowners who told us that they just learned that a train could be running near their home. And we're not talking about 20 years from now. We're talking about within the next 6 years. When he built his home in North Dallas 5 years ago, Don Brooks wasn't worried about the tracks behind his house.
I thought this was all going to be removed and it's going to be a common area.
Brooks now knows that was never the plan. Decades ago, DART bought these train tracks, hoping someday to turn them into a passenger line. That someday is quickly approaching.
That's very frustrating. It's going to ruin my property value.
The Cotton Belt line would run from Plano east of 75 through North Dallas with stops in places like Addison and then ending at DFW Airport.
I would use it to get to DFW. for sure. It sure beats driving over there and dealing with long-term parking and that type of thing.
Living in Addison, Tim Widmeyer says an east-to-west train line is needed. Many in Addison support the project, but not everyone in Dallas is on board. Some worry the Cotton Belt line will take away potential funding from a second downtown line. DART says it can do both projects.
They're totally separate projects. We believe that we can actually do two projects at one time.
But that still doesn't help homeowners who now know the truth about the tracks out back.
I wish it was, and their house was right next to it, and they probably would have a little bit different opinion of it.
Now, DART says the reason it's trying to fast track this project is they say with the strong economy right now, it's a good time to apply for federal funding. DART says it has secured the money for half of the project and is looking for the federal government to pick up the tab on the other half. Live in Addison, Brian New, CBS 11.
In a few hours, you're going to have a chance to weigh in on the Cotton Belt commuter rail project.
A public meeting is slated for this afternoon in Arlington. Brittany Jeffers joins us now live to explain what this project would mean for commuters. Brittany.
Guys, first of all, this is a major project. It's going to cross 3 counties, 7 cities, and have several different stations, including having a hub right here at DFW Airport. Now, the Cotton Belt commuter rail service would be an extension, essentially, of the Tex Rail. That's a 26-mile corridor that crosses several cities, including Grapevine, Coppell, Dallas, Carrollton, Addison, Richardson, and Plano. The current plan includes about 150 miles of new unfolded regional rails that would include a high-speed rail service between Dallas and Fort Worth. The Regional Transportation Council recently approved $100 million towards constructing that rail line, and right now is looking at public and private sector ideas to fund the project. So the focus of the meeting today in Arlington will be on the Cotton Belt line and combining it with the Tex Rail to form a 50-plus mile commuter rail corridor. This will be from Plano to downtown Fort Worth. So you do have your chance to weigh in. This is going to be a public meeting taking place today at 2:30 this afternoon at Six Flags Drive in Arlington. Reporting live here at DFW Airport, I'm Brittany Jeffers, CBS 11.
Tonight, the public gets to see what a rail station may look like along the proposed Cotton Belt commuter line. Planners are working to begin operating the 26-mile-long rail project in 2022. Our Jack Fink is live at DeWitt Perry Middle School in Carrollton, where an open house will be held tonight. Jack?
Gilma, this meeting starts here at 6:30, and 2022 may sound like a long way off, but if you really think about it, it's just over 4 years from now. Now, this rail line is set to start in southeast Plano and extend southwest to Terminal B at DFW International Airport. And while this is very early in the process, we do have the first renderings of what rail stations may look like. And in addition to the stations themselves, people will be able to see where they are and how they will fit into the neighborhoods around them. 7,000 people are expected to ride the Cotton Belt line each day when it starts service. That number is set to climb to more than 12,000 in 2040. Right now, the federal government is conducting an environmental impact review, which DART is expecting approval of this April. One of the things DART will consider is the impact on those who will live near the existing rail line.
There are going to be some places probably where we need to have some walls. There are going to be some things we can do with trees. We've been doing some sound measurements, and the community's aware of that.
Now, the project is slated to cost $1.1 billion. The DART board recently gave the go-ahead on this project and on adding a second line to the DART rail line in downtown Dallas. Again, the meeting here starts at 6:30 at the DeWitt Perry Middle School. We're live in Carrollton. Jack Fink, CBS 11.
Far North Dallas, where their lives are about to change, and not for the better.
They believe DART is keeping them in the dark about its plans for a new rail line that will run very close to their homes. Fox 4's Lori Brown explains.
We're getting railroaded, literally getting railroaded.
Jeff Smith is one of a half dozen homeowners who wanted to talk with us about what they believe has been an information black hole about the Cotton Belt. That's a 26-mile-long DART rail line that will run diesel hybrid trains from Dallas to DFW Airport. For these homeowners, it will be right next to them.
Who received an actual notice from DART about the meetings in May? So just one out of all of you.
Dane Kofer is the one homeowner who did receive a notice.
The second track is going to be 16 foot off center over here.
But the notice was for a meeting for a different neighborhood than his.
I don't know if this was just really bad communication or intentional miscommunications.
Either way, Kofor took it upon himself to start talking to others who live along the future Cotton Belt tracks.
In approaching approximately 200 residents, we only found that 5 had any awareness of the actual meetings themselves.
Tuesday, a DART spokesman told us they are now planning additional meetings that will begin June 11th.
All of a sudden, people are really interested in knowing exactly what's going on.
And more people will be invited to the June meetings that will determine what, if any, wall residents will get along certain sections of the rail.
And now we're to the point where we're actually reaching out to every homeowner who is adjacent to our property, and we're working through email, U.S. mail, our HOAs again, and of course, door hangers.
Gordon Shaddles said not everyone adjacent will get a 15-foot wall. And Shaddles said some people may decide they don't want a wall.
Maybe they don't want walls, maybe they just want really large trees. Our concern is to making sure that the neighborhood is happy.
And for that, DART has a long ways to go.
The additional slap in the face here is we can't use it. They're going to run it through our neighborhood, but the nearest station is in Richardson.
Lori Brown, Fox 4 News.
Well, DART originally, in fairness to DART, had plans to put stops at Preston Road and Coit, but some of the neighbors opposed that, so they were removed. Thus, the nearest stop is Richardson. Dallas has already said it would only support the Cotton Belt project if it includes sound-absorbing walls on both sides of the rail line.
Some parents and school leaders say they're concerned about DART's plan to put up a fence alongside their school after Fox 4 reported on complaints from far north Dallas residents about a lack of communication from DART. The metro system is now in the process of holding a series of community meetings to talk about concerns about the Cotton Belt line. Fox 4's Lori Brown is along Preston Road in North Dallas with more on what's troubling those parents. Lori.
Heather, the DART Cotton Belt is set to run right here directly in front of Fair Hill School, and that is a concern to the director and parents, especially because the students who attend school here have learning differences like ADHD.
He needs a little smaller of a classroom size because he has distractibility issues, as most of the kids do there.
Dr. Aaron Van Veldhuizen's son is about to start 8th grade at Fair Hill School. With its small class sizes, the school specializes in helping kids who are easily distracted.
They can only have up to 6 in elementary school in their per class.
But she's worried the quiet and calm atmosphere around the school is about to change. The DART Cotton Belt line is set to run diesel hybrid trains that look like this through the densely residential area of far north Dallas. The train will also run close to Van Veldhuizen's home in Prestonwood.
We bought in this area because it's nice and quiet.
While the homes adjacent to the track are entitled to have a wall or trees, this school is only set to receive a chain link fence. That's because it's considered commercial.
A chain link fence isn't going to do anything, especially for the sound the noise pollution.
The director of the school, who is out of town today, told us in a statement, although DART claims that there is no sound impact on the school, that can't possibly be true, and we are very concerned about the distraction and disruption to the classroom that the trains will cause. We have also voiced safety concerns. The school's athletic field is right next to where the new DART tracks will run.
If they absolutely have to be here for whatever reason, then there's going to have to be some sort of a wall built.
We asked DART about this situation, and a spokesperson said in an email that they will reach out to school administrators directly to address their concerns. Construction on the Cotton Belt is supposed to start this fall, with the train being operational in December of 2022. Residents are now being asked to vote on whether they would want a wall or a tree to block the train from
quiet now, but in a few years the plan is to double them and add up to 90 trains a day through the Highlands of McKinney neighborhood.
60 to 90 trains barreling through your backyard every day.
Residents worry about the safety as the trains pass by schools and through walking paths.
I can address a little bit about the specifics.
At the fourth of 4 community meetings,
Do you not know how many people
DART officials are getting an earful.
How do running 90 trains a day at 45 miles an hour improve the safety for my children walking across that path?
We're already working with some of the principals in the schools to go in and advise them that the construction is going to begin.
DART officials say they'll follow every possible safety procedure, put up sound barriers between the tracks and the homes, and not sound their horns in quiet zones to minimize noise. But DART's answers didn't exactly seem to satisfy many of the homeowners. or even city leaders.
Because you think it's hard to fight City Hall? It's really hard to fight a railroad.
City Council member Kara Mendelson says DART is not abiding by a city council resolution aimed at setting some ground rules.
So use your collective voice and make things happen. I'm with you. This is not a great thing for the neighborhood.
This afternoon, DART announced field construction is going to begin at the Silver Line, and that will start on Monday. The Silver Line used to be called the Cotton Belt, if you remember that. The route runs from DFW Airport all the way southeast to Plano. $1.1 billion project is going to start removing some rails in Addison and then relocating utilities as well near Hillcrest Road. That's in far north Dallas. The project is scheduled to wrap up in 2022. Cry from some North Dallas residents. DART now says that they plan to look at alternatives for their Silver Line passenger rail project. This is a $1.2 billion project. Should extend from Plano to DFW International Airport. Jack Fink is live over at Dallas City Hall with what this all means going forward. Jack?
Well, Doug, DART's president says he understands residents' concerns, but some residents say they're not so sure about that.
Someone's going to get killed. That's what's going to happen. It is unsafe to run trains over a walking path.
Maura Schreier-Fleming says DART's Silver Line passenger rail threatens her far north Dallas neighborhood. Aside from safety, she and other residents are also concerned about DART's plan to raise the tracks above street level at several locations, including along Hillcrest Road near McCallum Boulevard and along Coit near the University Place neighborhood north of McCallum. Schreier-Fleming says residents fear with the higher tracks.
Well, the neighbors are going to have a lot more noise. They're going to have their quality of life impacted significantly.
That you would even come to us with this is quite shocking.
At a city council committee meeting today, council members who represent far north Dallas told DART that it should stick to a plan approved by council members in 2018, that the train tracks remain at or below grade. DART's president and executive director says he got the message.
So we're going back and we're looking at other alternatives to see what we can come up with.
But he wouldn't say whether their plan will comply with the council's 2018 resolution. Thomas says doing so would cost up to $30 million more. Councilmember Lee Kleiman says it's an important project for the city, but that DART must protect residents' interests.
But the council has already passed a resolution approving this train and approving this alignment, which included those at-grade crossings and what their profile was. So really all we have to do is hold firm to the resolution we already passed and ask them to stick to it.
No timetable yet for DART to come back to City Council with alternatives. Passenger rail service is scheduled to begin in 2022. Live at Dallas City Hall, Jack Fink, CBS.
Go a month without hearing about all the people moving here or a company relocating its headquarters. But as North Texas continues to grow, the public transportation system is struggling to keep up.
Well, DART's Silver Line project is hoping to help with that. It creates a direct line from North Texas suburbs to DFW Airport. But there's concern tonight. Let's get to our David Goins. What's the problem here, David?
Well, we're looking at a very specific part of North Dallas, and we're talking about railroad crossings. As we mentioned, construction of the Silver Line is already underway, but there's still a lot of talk about how to handle busy crossings through specific parts of North Dallas. Take a look. Now, you see there it is, the route for the Silver Line. It's 26 miles long. Plano on the east side. It connects all the way to DFW Airport on the west. Long time coming. This exists along the old Cotton Belt rail line. Specifically, we're talking about far north Dallas, where it crosses over Hillcrest and Coit. Now, the Dallas City Council asked DART last year to make those crossings as close as they could at the same level as the street, but an alternative design that was been floating about put the train tracks 20 to 30 feet above the street, and residents complained. And at council today, DART heard the idea called, quote, completely unacceptable.
So interesting that as you're talking about D2, you're talking about reinvigorating space and exciting things happening. And then you get to this project and you're talking about innovative solutions. But what I'm telling you is these are destructive solutions.
Yes, it's a serious issue. It's very serious for those residents that are adjacent to the corridor. And so we appreciate that. We understand that.
That is DART President Gary Thomas. He said the above ground alternative, or high above the street, was just one crossing design that engineers are looking at. DART says it'll keep looking at different crossings in North Dallas as they move forward. But as we know, the Silver Line is coming. The construction groundbreaking started in Plano last fall, and it should be up and operational by 2022. Back to you.
Right now, neighbors along the path of the planned Dart Silver Line are worried about news that more land may be needed for that project, possibly leading to the government taking their homes.
The old freight line runs right through North Dallas neighborhoods. The Silver Line will connect Plano and DFW Airport. DART broke ground on it in September, even though design is not complete.
Ken Kaltoff is live in North Dallas now to explain what's happening. Ken?
Well, Chris, as the Silver Line plans keep changing, the neighbors worry that their property may be taken. And the man who lives right over there insists that DART is ignoring a much safer way to build this line.
It has been a roller coaster of what it is. When we bought in this neighborhood,
Dane Kofer assembled maps on the planned Silver Line to keep track of the plans as they changed over the years. He's crunched a lot of numbers and insists the surface path beside his house is not the safest or cheapest way to go.
Safety has not been their top priority.
Much safer, he insists, would be a tunnel like DART built for light rail beneath City Place.
It would be cheaper if you look at it across the lifespan of the project.
It was easily double the price.
DART spokesman Gordon Shaddles insists it was studied years ago. He says a tunnel on this path would require taking more land to build pump stations for removing water in the tunnel.
It is cost prohibitive in my view. The maintenance and operations of a tunnel are much, much higher.
City council members did insist on design changes that DART returned this week, removing rail on overpasses above homes.
We actually maintain Coit Road and we depress the rail tracks below the road.
The spokesman says 72 properties may be needed.
Now the bulk of those ones, over 55 of them, are actually partials, which are small slivers of land. What's on the corner of someone's property.
We don't know which pieces, how much of which pieces, where they're going to be, what they're going to serve, anything like that.
The technology would be like Fort Worth's TexRail trains.
This is good for Dallas, and I've been supportive of this project from the beginning.
Councilman Kleinman thinks the latest DART plan is better, but the design is only 10% complete. The neighbors remain worried about the Silver Line. Reporting live in Dallas, Ken Kaltoff, NBC.
A huge construction project through 3 North Texas counties is under scrutiny tonight over whether it's putting residents in danger. This all started with a close call between a Dallas City Council member in a car and an elderly pedestrian. CBS 11's J.D. Miles is in the neighborhood tonight off Knoll Trail in far north Dallas to fill you in.
DART's new Cotton Belt Silver Line will offer Collin and North Dallas counties a direct rail service to DFW Airport. But a Dallas City Council member says the transportation agency needs to be more respectful of the neighborhoods it's building the line through. This photo shows an 80-year-old woman who was lucky to make it home with her groceries safely, according to Dallas City Council member Kara Mendelson.
As we're coming up over the hill, as we're going north on Knoll Trail, suddenly the woman was in our traffic lane. So I stomped on the brakes.
Mendelson tells CBS 11 News that she and her husband had to swerve to miss the elderly woman who was walking in the lane of traffic because of construction work on the new DART Rail Cotton Belt Silver Line.
Well, I'm really worried. I almost was the person that hit someone. I'm worried for the residents being injured, and I'm worried for the motorists. I mean, this is something dangerous.
Every day I worry, and some days there's been close calls.
Jody Pearson says she walks the route every day from her apartment to her job.
Well, it's a mess, for lack of a better way to say it.
We drove the route, which sees a lot of foot traffic between apartments and nearby retailers. DART released a statement to CBS 11 News saying the transportation agency and its architect are currently reviewing the intersection at Knoll Trail Drive to ensure the construction is safe and have removed the sidewalk closed signs to prevent any further confusion. The council member posted about her close call on Twitter, saying it could have been tragic. Mendelson says she has safety concerns about more than a half dozen other intersections in her district where DART construction on the rail line will soon begin.
Well, actually, JD, I want to make sure that every crossing that DART is working on with the Cotton Belt is safe. And this is just the first of 8 intersections where this rail will be at grade and I'm really concerned about their safety performance.
The Dallas City Manager's Office has been notified about these construction complaints. The Cotton Belt Silver Line is projected to open in 2024. In Dallas tonight, JD Miles, CBS 11 News.
JD, we thank you. And as JD mentioned, the Silver Line is still a few years away from opening, but when it does, it'll stretch about 26 miles. This is a new map of the route released by DART in the last month. The Silver Line will travel through 7 cities in all, stretching from Plano down to DFW Airport.